that's how you want to live, just go ahead. Just leave me out of it. Part of that is acting honorably. We don't escalate things. So in all things, those are just some of the negative examples. We want to act honorably. And in the world today, sometimes you'll get laughed at if you want to act honorably. But that's okay. And then verse 19, he says, I urge you the more earnestly to do this, to pray for them, in order that I may be restored to you the sooner. So the author wants to visit this church of the Hebrews. He mentions it again in the conclusion, but in the very final verses. And so that's why he's asking for them to pray for them so that he can be restored to them. So whatever situation he is in, a clear conscience and acting honorably in all things will allow him to go and visit them. So he asks for them to pray for them. So those are things that we can pray for our pastor and those that we know in full-time Christian ministry as well. All right, so any other comments, thoughts about your pastor? Steve.
Most of the pastor studying the Word of God, so he can pour the Word back to us, and we do the service.
Yes, so Steve said we want to allow the pastor the time to study the Word of God so that he can pour it back into us. And we should be in the Word. We should be studying the Word. But if I could put this plug in, one of the reasons we want our pastor to go to seminary is so that he can advance in the Word of God beyond us in depth and breadth so that he can lead us in it, no matter where we are spiritually. That's why it's harder when you have a young pastor, which according to the Bible, our pastor is still young. When you still have a young pastor who hasn't earned any gray hair yet, that for those of us who are older than him, sometimes it's harder for us to do that, to obey and submit to his leadership, because he's just a young pup. What does he know? But he does, and God's given him to us as a gift, Ephesians 4, to equip us in the Word of God, so that we can minister to one another. So now you don't have to go to pastoral theology class. Anything else?
Eric, I was raised in the home, and by example of my parents, we were taught a way to honor our pastor, and I was privileged, I counted it a privilege, to sit under the ministry of Dr. Fierlevers as well as Dr. Pickering. Don't be afraid to have them in your home. They're people. They're people just like you are. And we need to remember that to administer kindness and show hospitality.
Yes, so our pastors are people, so we can minister to them, we can show them hospitality, show them kindness. I think, and another thing which is unrelated to what you just said, what Karen just said is, they're also, we don't want to put them up on a pedestal as idols either, that they live a perfect life. Again, maybe it goes back to the expectations we set for our pastors, but we understand that they're human and they can make mistakes. We want to be gracious with them as well, if that should happen, too.
I'd like to make a couple comments.
Yes, Pastor, you may.
When Eric talks about grown joy, I'm not going around the auditorium in my head thinking grown joy. That's the last thing going through my mind. When I hear teaching like this, passages like this, whether it's in this setting or I'm reading a book on pastoral theology, I'm so very thankful to the gift that you all are giving me of this time to study God's Word, the trust that brings tears to my eyes that I have this privilege. And I am so very thankful, and I want you to know that I feel the weight of it. I don't use this gift always as I should, and I know that, and by thankful. So I'm not thinking, groan, joy, groan. I'm not. That's the last thing. Instead, I'm very thankful. I also just want to acknowledge that in the spectrum of pastors who like to be out and about, busy doing stuff, and those who like to hide in the study and study and study and study, I'm the guy who likes to hide in the study and study and study and study. And if you notice a neglect and you tell me, I need that. Joanne nailed me a couple months ago. Well, you did. Go straight. We all know that Joanne's not afraid to say stuff. And she told me there was a neglect. She doesn't even remember, which is perfect. She doesn't even remember, and that's perfect. But if you notice that I'm imbalanced and that there's something good that I am neglecting to do, I really do want to hear. And I, in God's grace, am humble enough to hear. I really am. And this is only in God's grace. So, if there's a perception of something missing, I'd very much like to hear it. Because I know that I'm way over here on this end of the spectrum, and I'm very comfortable just reading and praying and studying. This is good. But perhaps, certainly, I can be too far this direction, and would gladly be told to fill a need that I'm either unaware of or reluctant to fill. And I'm not uncomfortable with that, and I hope you aren't either, because I'm here. Gladly. That's all.
Right, anything else? Lois?
I think one great thing our dad does, Darrell Murray about mowing grass, he takes time from his studies to bring the peeps on the water. No, that's wonderful.
It is. So Lois was explaining that when the guys are here working, Pastor will come out with bottles of water, and then do they pour it on the ground afterwards? No, obviously we believe, we hold to servant leadership in the pastoral office, and that would be a right expectation. All right, if there's nothing else, I guess we'll go ahead and finish with a word of prayer, and then we'll be dismissed. Next week, Lord willing, we'll talk about benedictions, this one in particular, because it's a tricky one. We'll talk about benedictions as well, so if you want to come back for that, you can. Brian, could I ask you to close us in prayer today?
Lord Father, we thank you for today, Lord. Thank you. We read in the Word of God, Lord. Thank you for teaching the Word, Lord. And we thank you for the willingness, the openness of the class members here to participate, Lord. And we just thank you that we be honest and frank with each other. And as the Scripture says, we can lift each other up and help each other sometimes in our shortcomings that we may not